김밥가게 박 사장님도, 문구점 김 사장님도, 우리 부산의 경제를 움직이는 사람들. 우리 동네 작은 가게로 향하는 발걸음이 우리 부산의 경제를 키워가는 한 걸음입니다. 부산 방송광고 발전 협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Was your weekend waivers? I hope you all survived the intense heat wave that blanketed the entire country over the weekend. And as experts on our show have said time and time again, certain groups, such as outdoor workers, the elderly, young children, people with underlying conditions, people who are economically disadvantaged, well, they might be especially more vulnerable to the dangers of extreme heat. So in theory, I think most of us, we understand this at this point. But what are we doing as a society to make sure everyone is safe? That's the question. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Monday, July 28th on BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, listeners. I hope you are doing well. And I don't know about you, but I already have my next to me because it's going to be another hot one, it seems. Yes, this past weekend was another scorcher, a record-breaking one in some parts of the country. According to the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters, 98% of the country is under a heat wave advisory or warning. The city of Seoul yesterday hit 38 degrees in the afternoon. And Anseong, that's in Gyeonggi province, hit 40.6 degrees Celsius yesterday as well. And the numbers, not only unpleasant, it's really hot, but dangerous, even critical. According to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, the KDC, as of Friday, 11 people died of suspected heat-related illnesses. On Friday alone, 87 people had to visit the emergency room from heat-related symptoms, bringing the total number of such patients this year to 2,183. And this is over 1,300 more people than the figure from last year. The heat has been relentless, not just for human beings, but for animals as well. And that ultimately affects the food supply. The Korea Dairy Committee yesterday said that the production of raw milk has gone down by up to 10%, as dairy cows are very much vulnerable to the heat, and they really get stressed in this kind of weather. This immediately affects the supply of milk, which affects the supply of heavy cream, with cafe owners reporting that they haven't been able to order the usual amount of heavy cream from suppliers. Industry insiders say that at this rate, milk supplies may be affected as well, and the effects are also clear across fisheries. The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries received a report that a large number of flatfish, and we love flatfish, it's kwangeo, they have died, likely from the heat in Jeju, marking the first of such a case this year. The ministry also released a large number of rockfish, or urok, into the open waters to prevent overheating deaths. As for us, we got to remind ourselves of the heat wave rules. Stay somewhere cool between noon and 5 p.m. Wear light, flowing clothes. Hats and parasols definitely help. And also sun cream. I think that's also essential. But the most important thing, stay hydrated. All right, let's get to our text topic. We're going to be talking about this divisive issue later on involving recovery coupons. So here's a question. Are you ready for this? Do you give your underage children their share of the coupons, or maybe stateside we call them stimulus checks, or not? At what age do you think you should give the coupons to your kids? 자, 소비쿠폰 미성년자 자녀에게 다 준다 versus 안 준다. 몇 살부터 줄 것 같으신지? That is the question. It's a two-pronged question. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this because it's so divisive. If you look at the posts on the internet, very divided on this. So we want to hear from you directly. What do you think about this? And I'm sure some of you have already gotten your stimulus checks, your recovery coupons. So send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. You can join in on the lively discussion. Go to the YouTube platform, type in BEFM or Busan 영어 방송 to find our channel. You can subscribe, just like I believe it's over 152,000 at this point. And then you can log in and chat with our other waivers. Also, from your phone, pound 9050 샵 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. Also, you can reach me for free through Kakao Talk. You can send in messages and photos too. And the ways you can tune into our program these days, Morning Wave in Busan, from the radio. In Busan, of course. It's 90.5 or 103.3 FM. And you can check us out live on YouTube. If you haven't already, you can watch again at your leisure. And we have the program available on two apps. The BEFM app itself and the Patbang app. Both are very easy to download and free. Looking ahead to our Monday morning together, we have Michael coming back for a cultural interlude, and then we have Claire for news in depth. For our special interview, we're going to be talking about the trade negotiations. That's a major topic, right? One of the top issues here in Korea. So, as you may have heard, the negotiations were postponed. And then we got the breaking news regarding the EU and the US. They settled on, I believe it's 15%. And then what's going to happen with Korea? So we're going to find out with our expert in hour number 2. I'll be back with news overview. It's now 7:06 and this is News Overview. Two-day trade talks end without results. Trade Industry and Energy Minister Kim Jong-wan's trade talks with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick ended without results as further talks are scheduled for this week. Special counsel summons lawmaker in election meddling investigation. The special counsel investigating former First Lady Kim Gun-hee has summoned People Power Party lawmaker Yoon Sang-hyun over his alleged involvement in the party's candidate nominations for the 2022 and 2024 elections. Lee Jun-suk elected head of New Reform Party. The minor opposition New Reform Party elected Lee Jun-suk as its chairperson once again, putting him back as the head of the party after a year and 2 months. Average Seoul apartment prices hit all-time high. The average price of apartment transactions in Seoul surpassed 1.4 billion won for the first time ever, according to data yesterday. US and EU reach 15% tariff deal. The US and the European Union have reached a trade deal setting a blanket tariff of 15% on all European goods imported to the U.S., announced by President Donald Trump and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen. And this was News Overview. It's time for Now in Busan. We have Sejin in the studio. Let's say hi first. Happy Monday.
Oh, so bright.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta
how are
fake it
things?
till you make it because you know it's Monday.
True.
억지로 조금 더 웃어야 되고요. 그래야지.
Yeah.
하하하. No, I do apologize if you hear something a little scratchy from my voice. It's because I don't know if it's 냉방병 or I'm coming down with a summer cold, but I do apologize ahead of time. But how was your weekend? Did you do anything fun?
Yes, I did.
what was
I
it?
went to the Haeundae Beach.
Oh, you
And
did.
then we walked. And then there was a nice sunset.
Oh, it's so nice. Well, okay, so today we're talking about recovery coupons.
Okay.
So I don't know, you're living away from your parents, and obviously you're an adult, so you have your own stimulus check or recovery coupons. But imagine that you had a kid, and I don't know if you do in the future, in theory, would you give them, your minor children, like they're not of age yet, their share, and I do air quotes because I guess it's given to every, I guess, Korean citizen, regardless of, and some foreigners, of course, are eligible too, but, basically if you're a Korean citizen, you get some sort of check, right? So would you be willing, or do you think it's okay to give your minor children their share?
I feel like if I got a kid, then if they are more than middle school student, then I would give them. Because what can they do with this money? They'll probably buy something more expensive meal, like other than ramen.
Yes.
But I remember when I was in high school or middle school, I usually just go buy ramen because it's the cheapest meal. So with the money, they could buy something more nourishing or slap a meal maybe.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. So middle school and up, you would say, hey, give it to them. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. So I'm also curious about the listeners. I'm seeing some answers, and we'll read them in just a little bit, but we're going to jump into our first topic. So I hear that President Lee Jae-myung was in Busan last week. So let's talk about why and what happened.
Yeah, on July 25th, so last Friday, he held a 2-hour town hall meeting at Bukyang National University. The event was called Listening to Busan's Heart, and around 300 people showed up, including local residents and figures from the maritime sector.
I see. So what were some of the key topics?
One of the biggest was relocating the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries to Busan. President Lee said he wanted it to happen as swiftly as possible, within reasonable limits, in his words. He turned to Minister Jeon Jae-soo on the spot and asked, "Can you get it done this year?" And the minister didn't hesitate and said, "Yes, we can."
Oh, okay. So that's kind of, a strong statement there. How did he respond to concerns from civil servants, though?
President Lee said he understood it might feel like a shock, like a thunder in the night for some workers. But he also said if people are asked to make sacrifices for the greater good, they deserve proper compensation. He promised the government would put fair support measures in place.
I see. Was there any mention of the new Gadokdo airport, though?
Yes, he said the project has caused confusion since it's been passed through several administrations.
Right.
But he reassured citizens, saying it's not the kind of national project you just cancel because of frustration, unlike what happened with the Yangpyeong Expressway. He made 2 promises: that the project wouldn't be scrapped and that it wouldn't be delayed.
Yes. So that's definitely good news for the people in our area. Did he talk about broader development strategies?
He did. He called balanced regional development as a national survival strategy. He said Seoul is overcrowded while the rest of the country is being left behind. And that it's time to start giving real incentives to the regions.
Yes. Any concrete policies mentioned?
Yes, he doubled down on his commitment to creating maritime court and a Southeast Investment Bank in Busan. He also talked about developing the Arctic shipping route, saying Busan could really benefit if it prepares now.
So what happens next?
At the end of the event, President Lee promised that even ideas that didn't get discussed live would be reviewed. In fact, nearly 1,900 comments came in online, and he said every single one would be looked at and responded to.
I see. So once again, that was regarding President Lee Jae-myung's visit to our city, Busan. All right, next up, let's talk about the Sasang-Hadan subway line. So I hear that the project's been delayed again.
Yeah, the Sasang-Hadan Saha-Sasang line was supposed to open at the end of 2026, but now it's been pushed back to 2027.
Oh, so what caused the delay this time?
According to Busan Transportation Corporation, the delay was pretty much unavoidable. Construction costs went up by about 136 billion won after they changed the plan, the design, for things like tracks, electrical systems, and signals. So the Ministry of Economy and Finance needed time to review that revised budget.
But this project already has kind of a bit of a rough history, we'll say.
Absolutely. It's been a rocky road from the start.
Right.
The original completion date was 2023, but after several route changes, including one following a rockfall on mountain Sungak, it was already delayed to 2026.
And of course, the whole issue about sinkholes, that's been an issue too, right?
Yeah, plenty of them. Every time it rains, it seems like a new one forms. At one point, a cargo truck fell into a sinkhole near the site.
Yes.
There were 3 sinkholes in 2023, 8 in 2024, and already 3 more this year.
Ooh, so these sinkholes, are they the only reason for the latest delay?
Actually, no. The corporation insists that delay has nothing to do with the sinkholes.
Oh.
They said it's all about the budget review. But last September, a city audit found that poor construction and weak site supervision were partly to blame for sinkholes.
I see.
It doesn't stop there. Just last week, on July 21st, a water leak near Saebyok Market led to the partial road closure for 2 days. The same area had already seen several sinkholes since last year.
I see. And so how far along is the project now?
It's 6.9 kilometer stretch with 7 stations.
Okay.
Construction began all the way back in 2010. So we're already into year 14. And it's not opening until 2027. So by the time it finally opens, it'll have taken nearly 17 years.
My goodness, that is a long time indeed. 17 years. All right, next, let's talk about a sporting event that is going to happen at the beach in Busan next month.
That's right. From August 14 to 17, Busan is hosting the 2025 광안리 International Women's Beach Volleyball Tournament.
Oh, this is a big international event, right?
It's an FIVB approved tournament. That's the International Volleyball Federation. And it was actually selected through the national program that supports global sporting events hosted by the local government.
Yes, so this is great news for a city. So who's competing?
A total of 28 teams from 12 different countries are coming.
Okay.
And about 86% of the players are from overseas. And all the matches will be held both during the day and at night.
It does sound like a huge event. Any fun stuff going on maybe around the matches?
Yeah, loads. There will be amateur league games and a mini game zone.
Okay.
And all sorts of side events to keep things lively through the tournament.
And I hear that they built a new court like just for this event. Is that true?
Exactly. They've installed 2 permanent courts right on the beach, built to international standards. We're talking full nets and antenna official game balls, the whole setup.
Okay.
And after the tournament, the court will be open to the public.
Oh, I love that idea because that's really giving back to the community, of course. So are there more events planned after this one?
Yes, they've got more lined up through September, including skateboarding and paddleboarding competitions.
Oh, so definitely beach season in Busan hitting its peak. All right, next, Busan was recently selected as the World Design Capital for 2028. And so we want further details on this. Like, what made our city stand out?
Interestingly, the answer to why Busan was chosen lies in the visit from the World Design Organization inspection team last month.
Okay.
The World Design Capital is an international program which every 2 years selects a city that promotes development through design, economically, socially, culturally, and environmentally.
Yes, and I hear Busan beat out some pretty big names for this coveted title, right?
Yeah, it won global megacities, including Hangzhou, which has a population of 13 million.
Ooh.
What caught their attention most wasn't a flashy skyline or a massive expansion center.
Okay.
It was the view from the Sambok Road in Donggo district.
Oh.
There's a home there that belongs to Han Won-seok, who is a Busan-born architect and installation artist.
Wow, so that's kind of like romantic or even poetic. So what brought him there?
About 5 or 6 years ago, a friend said, "Let me show you the real Busan." And took him to that road, and Han was so moved by the view that he bought a house nearby.
And so how did the space become a part of the inspection visit?
He originally bought the house to create an exhibition space, but due to his time abroad, he hadn't finished developing it. And that's when the city and design capital team, who already knew about the space,
Yes.
suggested showing it to the inspection team.
Okay, so let's hear about the house.
It keeps the original structure, like a door repurposed onto the ceiling.
Oh.
The basement functions as a modern gallery, and the upper floors are used as a cafe or culture space.
Oh, very interesting. And what did the inspector see?
From that house, inspectors saw a landscape that captured the modern and historic face of Busan. To the right, post-war homes built by refugees.
Yes.
And to the left, modern high-rises. And in between, the sea and a bridge connecting them all.
Ah, it's so picturesque, unforgettable, right?
He said the inspection team visited at night and were blown away by the city light. They stayed for 3 to 4 hours, and it was the longest that they stayed anywhere in Busan.
Wow, so that one spot, I guess it really made the impression, right?
It did. When the Busan mayor Park Hyung-jun asked the team what place impressed them most later, half of their responses were about Han's space.
Oh, and so what did Han think? Did he think that Busan would win?
He did. He lived in London, Shanghai, Beijing, and Tokyo, but said Busan's edge is unmatched.
Oh.
A city used to compete on glamour, but now it's about sustainability, authenticity, and history, and Busan has that combination.
I see. So thank you so much for sharing this story, plus all the other stories, and we're going to call it a wrap for this Monday, but take care. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Sajin.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody, I'll be back with your traffic and weather.
Good morning.
Good morning.
굿모닝입니다.
Good morning.
좋은 아침입니다.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Major news, local buzz, and expert takes. It's all here on Morning Wave in Busan. Brighten up your morning commute with Morning Wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
It's time for your traffic report. First up, the Dongso overpass looks congested from Hwangyong Ramp to the old Kaegeum toll gate. Also, the Mandok intersection looks busy from the Namhae Expressway to the Deokcheon ramp on the Namhae Expressway right there. Also, there is traffic detected on Gwanmun-daero from Pangnam Tunnel to Baekyang Tunnel, and also slow moving on Luno-Samsung-daero from Myeongji Underpass to Shino Bridge. Currently, it's 27 degrees Celsius and sunny in Busan. The daytime high is going to go up to 34 degrees. I'm trying to say it with a smile, but that's just so hot, right? A heat wave impact forecast, 폭염 영향 예보, and a heat wave special report, 폭염 특보, are in effect. Across the nation, a heat wave advisory or warning is issued across most of the country, with daytime highs going up to 37 degrees in some areas. Showers are forecast for parts of Gyeonggi, Chungcheong, and Jeonbuk from the afternoon into the evening. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for top stories. We have Haley in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, we match.
We do. Team blue.
Because we want, what was it? Like airy,
Flowy, airy,
floaty.
lights. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So text topic time. I know you're childless, right? But imagining in the future, let's say you had a kid right now.
Well, I do have my little sister, who's, of course, she's 20 something. I don't
She's
know.
not a
She's 20
minor.
young, but she was a minor when the COVID stimulus checks came. So I thought, and this was like a lifetime ago.
Right.
We offered to give her share.
And
then I think she was like, can you give me just like 5만 원? And then we can use the rest for like eating out.
Oh.
But then she was also getting 용돈 and she was in high school. So yeah.
But still, that was really nice
I was
of
like,
her.
oh, we raised you right. But then, so I did a little survey in my very small and limited social circle. I know
Okay.
like 4 people. Oh, wait. 3.
Okay.
Because, so it was a tiny, tiny chat group. One's a mom. And then she's like, I'm 기분파. She's like, I'm going to give it to my kid or give it at least a little bit and say, well, you're a citizen. You know, you're going to pay taxes eventually, and we're probably going to live off of your taxes at some point. It's like, yeah, that's a good point. So she's
Okay.
like, go have fun. Like, here's like 몇만 원 depending on the age. Go have fun. And then my other friend who's more like strict, she's like a boomer in training. I do say that to her face. I'm not
Yes.
like, and she's like, I'd be so mad. And she's childless. So she's like, I'd be so mad if that kid, like your potential future kid, asked me for his or her share.
Interesting.
And then I'm like, I would give the money to my kid, but then also talk to him or her because everything's a learning opportunity because I'm
Right.
that person. But like, this is what stimulus means. This is what supply and demand means. And
this is why you're getting it.
yeah, this is why we're getting it. So
Yes.
think about where you can spend the money to maximize that the stimulus aspect. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I hear you. Our little birdie, aka 예지 PD님.
뭐 하는 사람이세요?
전 아빠 거까지 끌어다가 썼어요, 진짜?
She took her
How old are
dad.
you? You were in your 20s.
Oh, during the COVID times.
During the COVID times.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
어, 반대로 아빠 거까지 다 쓰신 분도 있네요.
효자.
The little birdie, non-효자.
Oh, man.
Of course, we're just kidding. All right. First story. I mean, it was a weekend of trade talks in Washington, D.C., so let's get the updates on this major story.
Right. Lots of talks, but no signature yet. So we are 5 days away from the August 1st deadline. I'm going by U.S. local time. And the pressure is on. So Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy, Kim Jong-kwan, he's been in Washington, D.C. and held a 2-day-long weekend, weekend our time, but Thursday, Friday meeting with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, but they have not reached a deal. But then while this was going on, there was also a corresponding marathon meeting at the presidential office in Seoul with top senior aides and the finance minister discussing how much South Korea can give in to U.S. demands.
Okay.
So U.S. officials have said, not specifically about South Korea, but in general, that they are going to push until they get the results they desire.
So what do we know about South Korea's position thus far?
Right. So a little bit of a shift, flexibility over the weekend. The government hinted that it is willing to be a bit more flexible on agriculture because previously they did draw a red line on rice imports and beef of 30 months or older cattle.
Yes.
However, it seems that the two sides did reach considerable progress on day 2 of the meeting that took place at Lutnick's home.
Oh.
And however, again, no final signature was penned. But a source told the press that further internal negotiations are necessary and that the U.S. is putting on added pressure.
Yes.
For instance, the U.S. is said to be requesting that Seoul join the move to inject funding into the American manufacturing sector, mirroring Japan's move. And South Korea is said to be using its shipbuilding industry as major leverage, which the U.S. apparently desperately needs in order to form its own supply chain to counter that of China's. South Korea is therefore working on an angle of emphasizing that it is an irreplaceable partner and trying to reach an overall positive sum result.
Yes, indeed. So what can we expect this week?
Right, so a lot more coming because, again, we are on crunch time. Trade Minister Kim Jong-kwan and top trade negotiator Yeo Hang-gu, they have actually extended their stays in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And Finance and Economy Minister Koo Yoon-chul will visit the U.S. later this week to speak to his counterpart, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun will go to the U.S. as well and meet with his counterpart, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So while the South Korean side has been busy, as you can tell, the Trump administration has been showing signs that time is on their side. So for instance, Saturday, a local time, Scott Bessent didn't take any official meetings, instead wrote on social media praising his government's achievements. Of course, President Donald Trump is on a state visit to Scotland where he, of course, reached that major deal, 15% tariff with the European Union. However, that meeting was 40 minutes. The rest of the time on his motherland, as in literal, his mother is from Scotland, was spent golfing at his own resort in Scotland. So that's been, he's been taking a more chill tone, as you will.
Yes.
So again, we are at D-5 until that August 1st deadline.
Indeed. And for our listeners, we're going to have an interview on this very topic with an expert on what we might expect with the tariff negotiations. That's with Professor Grant Rear. You can stay tuned for that. All right, up next, we are finally seeing an end to this prolonged medical student boycott, right?
Right. So some 8,000 medical students will go back to school for the second semester, and that can start as early as August.
Yes.
And the government and the schools will allow for the third and fourth years to take their national board certification exams. So the Education Ministry released these plans on Friday after there was a little bit of a delay. The plans were supposed to come a few days earlier. But in any case, they announced that they are accepting the position reached by the Korea Association of Medical Colleges.
Yes.
So this is an exception to the rule because medical schools, they operate on a full year-long academic calendar, and students cannot usually go back in the middle of the year.
Right.
An official from the education ministry said that yes, while some students will miss out on about a semester of training that they didn't take during this class boycott, they will be able to make them up during vacation times, during summer school or winter school. And the ministry isn't categorizing this officially as a flexible or an exception to the academic system. The students who do return will be held back in terms of what year they're in. The students can go back again as early as next month.
Yes, so this might be good news in that, we finally see, normalization of the med schools, but there's some criticism.
Right, because the longer the students don't go back to school and the trainee doctors don't come back, the bigger the medical gap will be.
Yes.
And in some parts of the country, there is such a shortage of doctors to begin with.
Right.
However, the criticism has always been, because it's not the first time we're seeing these boycotts, that there's a certain level of privilege or entitlement to these students getting exceptions to the rule. Again, that's been the cycle for the past several years. We've seen similar instances in the year 2000 and 2020.
Yes.
Trainee doctors and medical students go on strikes/boycotts. The government, after months to, well, I guess over a year in this case, they withdraw or make changes to the policy, make exceptions to the rule, and the trainee doctors and students go back.
Yes.
In the meantime, the small number of trainee doctors who did stay put and also students who did remain at their classes, they were attacked, their names created into the so-called blacklist and released onto online communities. And then, of course, the patients, they suffered the most.
Sure.
The number of surgeries at Seoul's so-called Big Five hospitals, they have been cut in half since February of last year. And then also a 20% decline in cancer surgeries, and also all these emergency room hot potato cases, people having to travel hours to get critical care. So this was also an expensive strike for taxpayers as well. The government has had to put in 3.5 trillion won in national insurance, government and local government funding overall. So a representative from a patient rights group, said that this case again confirms that the government cannot win against the doctors and that such cycle may be unacceptable to the people.
So once again, of course, patients, the layperson, probably suffering the most. Well, thanks for covering that story. All right, this story we covered last week, right? You told us about this migrant worker tied to a stack of bricks on a forklift, and we were just aghast. We're so disgruntled. It seems like he's moving on to a new job.
Right. So good news on this front. This Sri Lankan migrant worker who was bullied at work, he is going to a new position, according to Jeonnam Governor Kim Young-nok, and that will be finalized today.
Yes.
So the governor said he will be working under improved conditions, including shorter hours, stipends even for Korean language and other classes. The employee who tied him to the bricks, he's been booked on aggravated assault charges. But it was reported, there were a couple days over the weekend that unless the victim found a new job, he would have become an undocumented immigrant.
Oh,
right.
Is that because of how the work permit system is set up?
Exactly. And this case has brought some issues of the work permit system under new light. So this is the E9 visa system, the work permit system, 고용허가제. So it allows foreign workers to legally work in South Korea. But then it also has extremely restrictive limits on them changing employment. So what is it? You can move jobs 3 times across 3 years, but you also need the employer's permission. So, right, that means even in cases of bullying, or sometimes the perpetrator is the employer, maybe your employer doesn't maybe physically assault you, but late on payment, things like that. The worker is basically at the employer's mercy.
Yes.
And then there are, of course, exceptions for cases involving assault and other problems. But even so, such as this particular case, if you cannot find a new job within 3 months, then you become undocumented and you can get deported.
Yes.
So some migrant workers within the community, they call it a 3-year slavery system. Right. So activists say that the reason that this particular case even even went public, that we are even talking about it, is because the victim mustered up the courage to ask for help with the Migrant Workers Human Rights Center.
Right.
So for most cases, they do go unreported. So with this, the Labor Ministry is of the position to review the overarching measures to protect migrant workers. But there's also, of course, a need for employers' need for a stable workforce. But of course, we also want to protect the rights of everyone.
That's true. So thanks for giving us a follow-up on that story. For our final story, we're going to go to the border between Cambodia and Thailand. There was a lot going on, bloody clashes, right?
Right, still happening as we speak. So this latest clash along a long disputed border between Thailand and Cambodia, and there are talks of an uneasy ceasefire.
Okay.
So conflict broke out last Thursday, according to officials from both sides. We are looking at the death toll of 35, many of them civilians, and over 200 people injured. Wow. So there's been a bit of back and forth regarding a ceasefire, but in any case, leaders of the two countries are due to meet in Malaysia later today, Monday afternoon local time. The meeting's being co-organized by the United States, and also China will participate.
Yes.
Even President Trump weighed in during his trip to Scotland because the two countries are due for trade talks with the U.S. respectively. He said he warned the Thai and Cambodia leaders that he would not make trade deals with either country if the conflict continues.
And how did the conflict begin in the first place?
Right. So this particular bout, the latest bout, began with an explosion of a landmine along the border that wounded 5 Thai soldiers. 2 soldiers lost their legs. This led Bangkok to withdraw its ambassador to Cambodia and expel Cambodia's ambassador. However, going back, the root cause goes all the way to the early 1900s with French colonialization of Cambodia. So it has colonial roots. The French back then signed a border treaty with the Kingdom of Siam, now Thailand, back in 1904. In that process, they included this important 10th century temple into Thai territory. However, 3 years later, when the French drew up a map, and by mistake, they put the temple on Cambodian territory.
Oh.
Right. So someone made a mistake and someone on the Thai side, they didn't really read everything or look at everything, and they signed off on the map without realizing this mistake, only found the mistake decades later. So it's just the irony and this coincidence, this minor mistake leading to such bloody conflict.
Yes.
And then after the French military pulled out of Cambodia in 1954, this is when Thailand sent troops to the temple and basically seized it. So there was a long dispute. Ultimately, the International Court of Justice ruling that the temple belongs to Cambodia, and Cambodia filed for UNESCO designation of the temple, which we know it leads to, if it's disputed land, then it led to frustrations.
Yes.
So this, by the way, is the same conflict, the border area conflict, that's led to the Thai Prime Minister, Paetongtarn Shinawtra's suspension because she called the Prime Minister of Cambodia, called him uncle, and kind of threw shade at her own military.
Right.
So this is a complicated issue.
Yes, and so bloody once again. Well, thank you for going over the top stories, and of course, we'll join you in hour number 2 for Wagu Wagu. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
We are ready for our first song break on this magical Monday, as some of you are calling it. I call it Manic Monday, but 여름이었다 by Heike, as requested by Taejin Weber. Guess who's here for Cultural Interlude? It is Michael Kang. How are you?
Hello. Welcome. I mean, not welcome.
Welcome back to
다녀왔습니다.
yourself.
Welcome back to myself.
Yes.
다녀왔습니다. 감사합니다.
어디 다녀왔습니까?
I went to Chungcheong province, Danyang. And that place is very famous for paragliding, which I did.
I saw in your program.
Oh man, it was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. Like
Was it
it's
scary?
like it's not as scary as you think. Like it gets a little like I don't know, like you get scared a little bit when you like right at the moment when you take off.
Yes.
But as soon as you do, like it gets a lot more fun. Yeah, so I loved it. I mean,
you would highly recommend it to our waivers?
oh, definitely. Like despite the weather, even it was like the weather was super hot, but still like I loved the whole experience. But it was short though, like 8 minutes in total. I think it was pretty short.
벌써 와글리해요.
아 진짜요?
뒤태 미남 is back. And then they have 검정옷만 잘 어울리는 마이클님 반가워요. 왜 만이에요? 검정옷만?
네, 저도 알고 있습니다. I am fully aware. That's why I think for the past 3 months already, like I've only been wearing black here.
But it
I
looks
think.
good on you, so it's okay.
Yeah, 저도 그거 알고 있습니다. 죄송합니다.
월요일 아침부터 눈물을 흘리게 하는?
정신이 확 깨죠? 네, 월요병 이겨내시고
감독님.
화이팅.
네.
Okay.
오늘 너무 피곤하네요. Okay. Let's begin. What do you have for us today?
Yeah, so when you talk about one of the world's largest performing arts festivals, we always mention the Avignon Festival. I'm going to tell you what it is later. But for the first time in its history,
yes,
the Avignon Festival has selected the Korean language as its official invited language for 2026.
Really?
This marks a very historic milestone, which is it's the first time for an Asian language to be picked for this festival.
Okay.
And it is also the first time a single national language has ever been selected for this honor for this festival. So
wow, double honors.
Yeah, double honors.
Yes.
And yeah, so the announcement came from the Korea Arts Management Service, which will serve as the official partner for the 2026 program for the Avignon Festival. So
yes,
amazing news.
It is. This is great news. But let's be honest, some of us don't really know that much about the Avignon Festival. So what exactly is this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a very prestigious festival when it comes to performing arts.
Yes.
And it is held every July in the southern French city of Avignon. The festival was founded back in 1947 by director and actor Jean Villard. It is now considered one of the big three global performing arts festivals alongside the Edinburgh the festival in Scotland and the Adelaide Festival in Australia. Each year, over 100,000 people attend these festivals, making it a major gateway for artists looking to go international.
Yes, I think many people might have heard of the one in Edinburgh, but so now we know it's one of the big three. So what does it really mean to be selected, Korean language, as the official invited language for the festival?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting program. So the so-called invited language program was first launched by artistic director of the festival, Tiago Rodriguez, as a way to shine a spotlight on a particular language and its cultural ecosystem. So the Korean language comes after English in 2023.
Okay.
Spanish in 2024, and Arabic in 2025. So I told you early on that Korean language is selected for the first time as a single national language.
Yes.
So what I mean by that is, when we compare the Korean language with English, Spanish, and Arabic, which are multinational languages
That's true.
that are spoken in multiple countries,
Right.
the Korean language is spoken in only one country.
Right.
Basically,
Now I
right.
get it. It makes sense.
So it's like, I guess another example would be, Japanese. That's also
Sure.
a single national language.
Yes.
But anyways, Korean language has been selected, and it's a really big deal.
So where did they get the idea to spotlight Korean, though?
So, so the decision to spotlight this language, Korean language, as the official invited program didn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
It all traces back to artistic director Tiago Rodriguez's visit to Korea in 2023.
Oh, okay.
During that trip, Rodriguez attended the Seoul Performing Arts Festival, or SPAF, SPAF, where he had the chance to experience Korea's contemporary performing arts scene firsthand. He met with artists, watched performances, and was
Sure.
deeply impressed by the experimentation, emotional depth, and artistic innovation that Korean theater had to offer. That initial encounter basically sparked an ongoing relationship. In 2024, SPAF and the Avignon Festival launched a joint project to support emerging artists titled Transmission Impossible, which is a very bold move in terms of a cross-cultural collaboration project. So Rodriguez even took to the stage in Seoul himself, presenting his acclaimed piece By Heart as both director and performer, further deepening the creative exchange between the two festivals.
I see.
This steady stream of artistic dialogue and trust building ultimately laid the groundwork for this truly historic outcome, which is Korean being selected as the 2026 invited language for the festival. And also as part of this collaboration, a number of Korean productions have already been selected for the festival's official IN program, so IN, next year, which is a very highly competitive segment that is distinct from the open participation OFF program.
I see.
It's been nearly 28 years since a Korean production last made it into the IN program, which dates back to the 1998 Asia's Aspiration Project. So,
Wow,
first
almost 3
time
decades.
in 2 decades.
28
Amazing.
years, that's a long time. So we're back in. I love
we're back
it.
in.
Yes, we're hot now. Okay, so I wonder what Korean productions will be invited to the festival's in segment. So can you give us some more information on this?
So we don't have the full information
Not
to
yet.
what specific programs will participate, but the center, the sources confirmed that there will be Korean programs included, which already is. Whatever programs that makes into the in program, it's going to be great.
And what about for the off program? Do we have information on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, aside from next year, it's July right now, right? So and this year's Avignon Festival is taking place at this moment as we speak. And there's already a Korean presence for this festival's off segment this year. And it is my greatest pleasure to tell you that they are all from Busan.
Really?
It's very interesting. So I looked at, and these theaters, I actually worked with some of the theaters myself as music director before. But so 2 theater companies from Busan. It's called 극단 배관공. So it's theater plumber, I think. That's how it can be translated. And 극단 따뜻한 사람. So that's theater warm people.
Okay.
And they've been performing to packed houses at this year's Avignon Festival.
Really? Okay.
My Dear Helen is a performing arts project by 극단 백왕공 and is a very moving, minimalist, non-verbal play inspired by the life of Helen Keller, featuring actors with and without disabilities sharing the stage.
Oh, hence the title, My Dear Helen.
Yes,
Helen
exactly.
Keller. Okay.
Meanwhile, Container by 극단 따뜻한 사람 or 극단 warm people explores the human dignity and existential struggle of refugees and North Korean defectors trapped in a shipping container.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean,
The
I think
premise.
I've seen news articles about this, where they have to be shipped via containers to defect from North Korea.
Right.
And this very powerful production, which has already won multiple Korean theater awards, has already received glowing reviews from French media, including La Provence.
Wow. So, how do they make it to the festival?
So this really shows how, like, I guess the agencies and institutions who are in charge of connecting the Korean theaters with the world
Sure.
are making extra efforts to make this, feats. So these international appearances were made possible through the Busan Cultural Foundation's Theater Link program and the Busan Performing Arts Market, or BPAM.
Yes.
Which have been actively supporting overseas opportunities for local artists since 2022. So the director of 극단 백왕공 is Chu Hye-ja, and
Yes.
she said, breaking out of local boundaries has been tough, but thanks to the foundation's full support, including funding and on-site coordination, we feel incredibly grateful and empowered.
Yes.
And Ha Sung-min, who is the head of 극단 Warm People, echoed the sentiment, saying, thanks to Busan's strong support, fewer artists are leaving for Seoul these days.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a big problem, right?
Yes.
We're proud to be setting an example. That's what he said.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us all this information. And I love the fact that our city and, of course, the entities related to the city, that they're giving a lot of support to these theater companies in Busan, as you mentioned. Like, we don't want the brain drain for talented people to only be in Seoul, right?
Exactly. And I think following the recent global success, I think I mentioned this before a couple of weeks ago, of the Korean original musical Maybe Happy Ending, 어쩌면 Happy Ending, which swept 6 Tony Awards, reminding you. There's growing momentum in Korea and Busan, not just for creating high-quality cultural content, but also for actively distributing and promoting it on the world stage.
So this is important.
Yeah, so just one, short comment
Sure.
from the director of the Busan Cultural Foundation, Oh Jae-hwan, who emphasized this new significance, of this new chapter. He said, this is the beginning of a new era of direct international distribution for regional theater. We're committed to helping Busan's performing arts groups gain global recognition and to building a sustainable platform for their continued success on the world stage.
Love it.
Yeah. So this is a very bold push towards international visibility, and it marks a pivotal shift, not just in how local productions are made, but in how they are strategically positioned for global audiences.
Yes. So very, very heartwarming and encouraging to hear about this news. So thanks for sharing it with all of our listeners.
My pleasure.
And of course, we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
And with that, we are ready to wrap up our number 1. So here it is, final song for our number 1, 오래된 노래 by Standing Egg. I'll be back at 8.
오래전에 함께 듣던 노래가 발걸음을 다시 멈춰서게 이 거리에서 너를 느낄 수 있어 널 이곳에서 꼭 다시 만날 것 같아 한 번 더 바라보고 너일까봐 자꾸 돌아보게 돼 어디선가 같은 노래를 듣고 날 생각하면 너 역시 멈춰 있을까
문화와 예술이 함께하는 특별한 동행이 시작됩니다.
부산문화재단 대표이사 오재환입니다. 다시 태어나도 살고 싶은 행복한 문화도시 부산을 위해 오늘 하루 문화예술의 멋진 항해사가 되어 보시길 바랍니다.
이 캠페인은 글로벌 문화도시 부산을 창조하는 비컬처 플랫폼 부산문화재단이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Welcome to Busan. Let me show you around. Here you can find the world's largest musical in-ground fountain and the world's only UN memorial cemetery. Stroll along the coast and explore the largest mountain fortress in Korea. As well as all this, there are so many tourist attractions, beautiful exhibitions, vibrant culture, convenient facilities, and delicious foods unique to Busan. With all the beauty and charm of the amazing city of Busan, you'll find yourself right at home in this ever-changing tourism paradise. So stay with us a while. Busan, your #1 tourist destination. Your home, away from home. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어 방송.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It's now 8 o'clock. This is hour number 2 of Morning Wave in Busan. This is Spotlight News. 2-day trade talks end without results. Trade Industry and Energy Minister Kim Jong-kwan's trade talks with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick ended without results, as further talks are scheduled for this week. Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chul will travel to the U.S. this week to speak with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Thursday local time. The Trump administration said that it had productive negotiations with South Korea, adding they are seeking to reduce what they call our unfair trade barriers. In the meantime, data from the Parliamentary Budget Office showed that due to South Korea's heavy dependence on the manufacturing sector and its gross domestic product, or GDP, the country is more vulnerable to tariffs. Special counsel summons lawmaker in election meddling investigation. The special counsel investigating former First Lady Kim Gun-hee has summoned People Power Party, or PPP, lawmaker Yoon Sang-hyun over his alleged involvement in the party's candidate nominations for the 2022 and 2024 elections. Yoon Sang-hyun has been named a suspect in allegedly colluding with the former first couple to help former lawmaker Kim Young-sun win the party's nomination in exchange for free polling data from self-proclaimed pollster Myung Tae-gyun. In the meantime, the special counsel investigating the former president's insurrection charges yesterday visited the Korea Defense Intelligence Command to look into allegations that Yoon Suk-yeol conspired with North Korea prior to declaring martial law last year. Lee Jun-suk elected head of New Reform Party. The minor opposition, New Reform Party, elected Lee Jun-suk as its chairperson once again, putting him back as the head of the party after a year and 2 months. Yi, who ran unopposed, won 98.22% of the votes. He had stepped down in order to run for president earlier this year. In his acceptance speech, Yi vowed bold changes to the country's political system, including how his party will select nominees for the upcoming local elections. Average Seoul apartment prices hit all-time high. The average price of apartment transactions in Seoul surpassed 1.4 billion won for the first time ever, according to data yesterday. This figure shows a 1.28% uptick from the same period last year, marking a continued upward trend in the capital city's real estate market, concentrated around districts south of the Han River. The price outlook index for Seoul apartments, however, fell to 98.0 in July, marking the first time this outlook has fallen below 100, showing expectations that prices will decline. This comes amid the government's tightened loan restrictions. U.S. and EU reach 15% tariff deal. The U.S. and the European Union have reached a trade deal setting a blanket tariff of 15% on all European goods imported to the U.S., announced by President Donald Trump and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen. The agreement also includes tens of billions of dollars in European investments to U.S. energy products. The two leaders also agreed on reciprocal zero tariffs on strategic items like aircrafts, certain chemicals, generic medication, and natural resources. Trump has hailed this as the largest deal ever made, with von der Leyen also heralding the deal as one that would bring stability and predictability for both sides. This was Spotlight News. It's time for Waga. That means Haley's back with us.
Hello
Welcome back.
again.
Yes, indeed. Well, for our first story, the government released this list of high-ranking public officials' assets. And former President Yoon Suk-yeol's assets are under fire.
Right. So the Public Service Ethics Committee back on Friday released assets for 54 high-ranking officials, including those who have recently retired or resigned. And that, of course, includes former President Yoon Suk-yeol. So he was actually at the very top of the recently retired high-ranking officials with reported assets of 7.9 billion won. So that's an increase of by 500 million won compared to last March when the list came out last time.
Okay.
Actually, the vast majority of his wealth comes from his wife, Kim Gon-hee, in real estate, property, and deposits that she owns, including their high-rise apartment in Seocho under her name.
Yes.
So why is this controversial? Well, because just a couple of weeks ago, his attorneys posted his inmate account number, 영치금 계좌, saying that the former president hasn't been able to buy anything or have anything at the detention center because he went in, quote, without a penny. So Yoon himself even said during his arrest warrant hearing that he doesn't have the funds to hire an attorney. So netizens are saying that some netizens are saying that it's absurd for someone who has almost 8 billion won in assets to take money from supporters.
Well, in the meantime, the court issued a ruling that Yoon is liable to pay compensation for damages caused by his martial law declaration.
Right. So this was a very key decision that was reached by the Seoul Central District Court, the Civil Division. They ruled in favor of the plaintiffs in a damages suit that 104 citizens lodged against former President Yoon Suk-yeol. And the court ordered Yoon to pay them 100,000 won, 10만 won each. So the court ruled that the December 3rd martial law declaration was in violation of the law, both procedurally and substantially. The judge ruled that given the defendant, Yoon's, quote, proactiveness in declaring martial law, his passive attitude in lifting said martial law and also the Constitutional Court's impeachment decision, his actions fall under what's called a tort of intentional wrongdoing. 고의에 의한 불법 행위, which makes him liable to pay compensations. So the plaintiffs argue that they suffered psychological damages from martial law, including fear, anxiety, and even shame as citizens of the country, which the court agreed with. So this is actually the first ruling admitting the former president's liability for damages. There are actually a couple more cases that are in other regional courts.
Right, so legally and symbolically, very important. All right, now we're going to move on to our next story. The police have launched a probe into its own for the Incheon makeshift gun case.
Right, so this is a very high-profile, scandalous case where a father allegedly made a gun from watching YouTube and allegedly shot his own son.
Right.
But according to the police, the 62-year-old suspect left his son's apartment 10 minutes after the 112 call was made by his daughter-in-law, the victim's wife, about him allegedly using his makeshift gun to shoot his own son. However, and this is the point of controversy, well, the police entered that home 70 minutes later. Because they thought that he was still in the house. So this is why initial reports said that there was a standoff, although he was actually already on the run. So they were apparently waiting for the special forces to arrive.
Okay.
So during this time, that means the victim was lying there, bleeding, and he died after he was taken to the hospital. Of course, now this is an issue of hindsight. Would he have made it had he been rushed to the hospital 70 minutes earlier? Of course, we'll never know, but there are questions. So the police also only checked the lobby CCTV footage an hour and 47 minutes after the report was made. And that's when they kind of figured out he was on the run. So it's been pointed out that had they checked the footage earlier while they were waiting for special forces, the victim may have made it, or at least the suspect wouldn't have been on the run for such a long time.
I see.
So the police has therefore launched an audit into whether the initial response was appropriate.
Hence, they're looking into their own. Right, and as this is going on, it's been pointed out that court precedence shows justice being more lenient in cases of parents killing their children rather than the other way around, right?
Right, which is, these are heinous crimes.
Regardless,
and life is life. But interestingly, there's been a bit of perceived bias in how these cases are dealt with. So reports analyzed 82 court rulings from 2022 to January of this year over familicide. So familicide refers to killing within your own family. And legally, they are divided into two different types. So this is called 비속살해, filicide, when parents kill their own children. On the other hand, we have patricide, when children kill their own parents. In Korean, that's called 존속살해. So there are 53 people who have been indicted on patricide cases, children killing their own parents. They all received prison sentences without any suspension. Over half of them, longer sentences at 15 years or higher. 12 of them have been sentenced to 10 to 14 years in prison, 2 life sentences. So the minimal sentence given was 10 years in prison for killing one's own parent. On the contrary, for parents who kill their own children, so 22 out of 32 defendants received 3 to 9 years. So already that's significantly lower, meaning the minimal sentence was 3 years. 4 people actually didn't go to prison.
Really?
Yeah.
So they got to suspend a sentence?
They got to suspend a sentence, which is shocking. And most of the victims were minors. Only one parent was sentenced to life for killing his own wife and 2 teenage sons. The average sentencing was for parents killing their own children, 7.7 years, which is half of the patricide cases. So, that really leads to questions why there is, if
numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie, and this is a court case. If you killed your own child and was only sentenced to 3 years, that raises eyebrows. So let's look at not the numbers, but the words, the verdict, the wording that was used. 16 of the filicide cases, verdicts, parents killing their own children, they mentioned the judge wrote guilt. With the court showing some sympathy for the defendants, and this is the court's wording, the defendant will have to live the rest of his or her life with this guilt of having killed his or her own child. Yeah, so that's interesting that the court put that into the official ruling. However, for the opposite, the patricide verdict, the wording was much harsher, mentioning things like crime against humanity.
Oh, really?
Right.
So why might this be? Because I guess like the Western brain, the part of my brain,
Right.
it's like a life is a life.
A life is a life,
Right.
and if it feels personal opinion. It feels killing a child who's helpless seems more egregious. Not that killing your own, but it does it not. But anyway, so experts say this is kind of it may be cultural confusion, 유교 사상, and also patriarchy, 가부장적 bias. So parents, there is kind of a legal perception of parents seeing children as their possessions in a way. And then also there is legal bias that sets patricide and filicide under separate light. So therefore experts say that in this day and age there's need for not only legal uniformity but also social justice.
Oh yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a
doozy.
Yeah, it was. All right, for our final story, let's go to a text topic about kids and consumption coupons,
which is also another interesting cultural issue.
Yes.
So according to one online community post that has gone viral, the writer is actually an aunt who said, my sister's daughter, so her niece, is in middle school and demanded that she wants her share of recovery coupons. So she wants her 15만 원. So why is this an issue? Because under the Interior Ministry's regulations and guidelines, for minors who are born after January 1st of 2007, the head of their respective household, 가장, must sign up for the coupons. However, on principle, they are given to individuals.
Yes.
So there is perception that, well, the money came under the daughter's name, although that was deposited to presumably her father's account.
Sure.
Then the children should get their own. And we have a lot of opinions coming in on our own YouTube channel as well, right? So comments were so very divided. One parent said, I would give, if the kid insisted, if my child insisted that he or she get the money, I would give him or her the money, but also then have them pay for their own stuff because you live under my roof. I pay for everything. It's my taxes.
Yes.
Basically saying that this is ungrateful. Other parents saying, well, the money's going to go, also our listeners, her parents are saying, we're going to pay for the academies anyway with that money. And then one person said, why would a kid need that much money? However, another commenter said, by the way, in this economy, 15만, unfortunately, 15만 원, 150,000 won isn't that much money. Anyway, so others kind of taking the side of the children. The money, that extra money, 150,000 won was deposited because you have a kid. So it's also a good opportunity to talk about money / the economy with your kids and at least give some just to maybe appease them. By the way, in the first 5 days of the sign-up, 72% of those who are eligible have signed up, totaling 6.57 trillion won. By the way, from now on, anyone who's eligible can apply regardless of the end digit of your birth year. And this is both online and in person.
Yes. So thank you for going over all the Woggly news. And of course, we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
All right. Now it's back to you, the waivers, for your traffic and weather. It's time for your traffic update. There is some backup on 중앙대로 from Yangjong intersection to Songgong three-way intersection. It's backed up from 충렬대로 or on 충렬대로 from Minam to Daesung intersection. And that top portion of the Gwanghwan Bridge is congested right now. And it's slow moving on Peonyeonglo from the Wondeong ramp to Suyong Tunnel. Currently, it is already 29 degrees Celsius. It's sunny. It's hot. It's going to go up to 34 today. A heat wave impact forecast, 폭염 영향 예보, and a heat wave special report, 폭염특보, are in effect. In other parts of the country, a heat wave advisory or warning is issued or are issued across most of the country, with the daytime highs in some areas going up to 37 degrees today. Showers are forecast for parts of Gyeonggi, Chungcheong, and Jeonbuk from the afternoon to the evening. And this was your updated traffic and weather. And this is 파이팅 해야지 by 부석순.
일어나야지 아침인데 네가 닿은 해가 중천인데 아침밥은 10분 더 자야 돼 태가가 필요 또 속에 것들은 다 왜 잘나 보여 나 마음에 또왜 아둥바둥 또왜 이리저리 쳐왜 우린 다 이어폰 꺼본 좀비 비교해 모두 다 텐션업 펌핑 힘을 좀 내어보자 우린 여러분의 부석순 반복되는 하루에 시작이 되는 이 노래 네 옆에서 불러주겠어 힘내지 못하겠어 Don't give it up, never give it up, yeah 우리 부석순 Fighting 또왜 아둥바둥 또왜 이리저리 저왜 우린 다 이어폰 꺼본 좀비 비교해 모두 다 텐션업 펌핑 힘을 좀 내어보자 우린 여러분의 부석순 반복되는 하루에 시작이 되는 이 노래 네 옆에서 불러주겠어 힘내지 못하겠어 Don't give it up, never give it up, yeah
Okay 모닝 카페인은 디카페인 일찍 일어나는 기분 뭐까지 철없이 부재중 전화 제끼고 dance with my laziness 부분 등 발다리 전부 다 팬이 Ooh I feel like I'm 17 이런도 못해만 되는 불행과 같이 살기에는 내 시간이 너무 아깝지 man Y'all gon' deserve it Unfortunate is unnecessary 알다시피 인생은 원래 그지 같아 그러니 조금만 힘을 내 구겨진 인생을 연주하는 우린 비운의 베이르베인 차분히 다 막정을 연주해 We got plenty more pages left to play
올라갔다 내려가는 주식같이 알다가도 모르겠는 인생 뭐같지 한 템포 쉬고 물 한 모금 마시기 자 여기서 비타민 A, B, C 반복되는 하루에 시작이 되는 이 노래 네 옆에서 불러주겠어 힘내지 못하겠어 Fire Don't give it up man Don't give it up yeah Fire 우리 부석순 Fighting at it Fighting at it
It's time for your special interview on this Monday morning. As the deadline for tariff negotiations with the United States looms for August 1st, that's a deadline, attention is now turning to South Korea's so-called pragmatic diplomacy under the current administration. Originally, a high-level meeting, the so-called 2+2 trade talks, was scheduled for July 25th local time. But in a sudden and unexpected turn, the meeting was delayed. It was postponed. So what does it say about the state of South Korea, U.S. trade relations? And more importantly, how should South Korea proceed in this final stretch of negotiations? Joining us today is Professor Grant Rear, Senior Research Associate in the Campbell Public Affairs Institute, Professor of Political Science at Syracuse University's Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs. So we have him on the phone today, so let's say hi to him. Hi, Professor. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me on, and I apologize that I'm not able to join you on the Zoom, but well, at least we'll be able to hear each other.
Oh, absolutely. It's perfectly fine. So, you know, this meeting between the two sides, the ROK and the U.S., was originally scheduled for July 25th, but it was postponed after the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, pulled out, citing, quote-unquote, urgent circumstances. So first, your thoughts on this. I mean, how should the Korean government, I guess, kind of interpret this sudden postponement?
Well, I wouldn't be worried at all. I think you answered the question to that in your news story that you read at the top of the hour. I think this had to do with the fact that the final negotiations on the deal between the United States and the European Union was going on, and I think that was the urgent necessity. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. It makes perfect sense to me if they were on the verge of getting that deal to wait and then have the people in place that they would need to have in place to talk to South Korea.
I see, because I guess some people, including I'm sure officials and lay people, feel a little nervous about the fact that, why was it postponed? Does that suggest anything diplomatically? But are you suggesting that that may not be the case?
I don't think it is the case. Now, I'm not a trade expert. I don't have inside information, but when I look at this from the outside, it seems very obvious to me that I think that the negotiations went better and faster with Europe than I think the White House was expecting, and so they just shifted and pivoted to getting that done. And again, the way that President Trump and this White House works is it's very much bilateral in terms of its focus, not multilateral.
Yes.
So they do one deal at a time. And so I think the deal they were working on was this big deal with Europe. I would expect them to come back around now and focus on South Korea and China.
Yes.
And the other thing to bear in mind is, there's a long history here of these dates and these deadlines being set and then postponed. So I wouldn't get too hung up over August 1st either. But it may be able to get done before then.
Yes. So I was going to ask you about the whole August 1st deadline because as a layperson, and I'm sure, for our listeners, there might be a little bit of not that we don't want the negotiations to be made in haste, but, that deadline, it seems to be kind of looming, at least in the minds of many people. But, with Japan, Vietnam, the Philippines, and now the EU, it seems they have all reached, agreements with the U.S., respectively. What kind of political posture do you think the U.S. is likely to take toward Korea in this kind of final stretch of negotiations?
Well, I think they're going to be pushing for the kind of what the United States has been calling investments from South Korea. And I think there's also a partnership that they're looking for. We can talk about that later. But, the translation of investments basically means we want you to buy our stuff. And so, they'll be looking for a deal where South Korea, I think, pledges to buy some American things. And that's, clearly a pattern that the president really, really likes. If you look at, for example, what pushed the president to giving more support to Ukraine, it was that the countries in Western Europe agreed to buy American military arms.
Yes.
Well, that was something that Trump loved because they were paying for the thing that normally the United States would give to Ukraine. So I think if you're thinking about what the United States is going to be pushing for, it's going to be pushing for agreements and commitments to buying U.S. stuff.
So I would assume that it would be most advantageous for South Korea to basically adopt that type of strategy, meaning to at least give in a little to what the U.S. is seeking, whether it be, cattle imports or other items that are on the agenda?
That's right. Things like cattle imports, agricultural. But the big thing that I think the United States is probably going to be looking to South Korea to help it with has to do with building ships. The United States, and this is something that there's rare bipartisan agreement on in the United States. Republicans and Democrats agree that the United States has let China become the world dominant shipbuilder. And we are, in the United States, we are woefully now behind. We don't even have the capacity anymore to be in this game of shipbuilding. And my understanding is that your country has some of the infrastructure to do this and has some of the production experience and knowledge to do this that the United States is lacking. And so I think I would be looking for some sort of agreement or commitment on shipbuilding. That is something that is an urgent concern for the United States, because there's a feeling that we are just completely dependent on China when it comes to ships and have really ceded that to them. And so I'm guessing that's one of the other things that will be getting a lot of attention.
Yes. And, U.S. President Donald Trump recently made comments to the fact that, countries making large-scale investments in the U.S., like Japan, could receive lower tariff rates. And there was this photo where basically, there was like a proposal, I believe, of like $400 billion by Japan crossed out. It said $500 billion. And ultimately, Japan agreed to, I think, $550 billion in terms of making investments in the U.S. So, basically, you got to pay up. Is that the strategy?
Well, again, buying things is very important. But the other thing I think that was going to be important for South Korea is, and you mentioned this in your news story again about the European Union, is the absence of tariffs on strategic things, and shipbuilding is a strategic thing for the United States. So I think that's probably a place where South Korea can forge a deal that will be in its benefit as well as the United States' benefit, because that is something that we need help on.
Yes, indeed. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on air with us, sharing your expertise and your opinions on the ongoing tariff negotiations. So wishing you the best during summer break. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This was Professor Grant Rear, and we, of course, are awaiting word for the results of the tariff negotiations. And, of course, we're going to have a follow-up special interview when we get the results to such negotiations. And we're going to take a short breather. So this is Stressed Out by 21 Pilots.
I wish I found some better sounds no one's ever heard. I wish I had a better voice that sang some better words. I wish I found some chords in an order that is new. I wish I didn't have to rhyme every time I sang. I was told when I get older all my fears would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. We're stressed out. Sometimes a certain smell will take me back to when I was young. How come I'm never able to identify where it's coming from? I'd make a candle out of it if I ever found it. Try to sell it, never sell out of it. I'd probably only sell one. Maybe to my brother, cause we have the same nose, same clothes, homegrown, a stone's throw from a creek we used to roam. But it would remind us of when nothing really mattered. Out of student loans and treehouse homes, we all would take the ladder. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we'd fly it far away. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at the face, saying, wake up, you need to make money. Yeah. We used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we fly far away. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at our face, saying, wake up, you need to make money. Yeah. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out.
Used to play pretend, bunny. We used to play pretend, wake up, you need the money. Used to play pretend, bunny. We used to play pretend, wake up, you need the money. Used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we fly far away. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at the face, saying, wake up, you need to make money. Yeah.
Welcome back. That was such a good song. I needed that song. Stressed Out by 21 Pilots. So looking at some of your responses to the text topic, by the way, which is, do you give your underage children, meaning they're minors, their share of the stimulus checks or the consumer coupons, right? So what do you think, or at what age? So we have some interesting responses. First up, Souvenir, who I happen to know is a dad, says, 소비 쿠폰 당연히 성인부터. 니꺼 내꺼 따지면 용돈을 끊어버려야 돼. So I love that response. On the other hand, other people have different views. 태진님 says 소비 쿠폰은 가족의 화합의 의미로 외식으로만 씁니다. 미성년자 자녀에게 안 준다. 필요하면 용돈으로 줄 것 같아요. So basically he's saying he's using all the coupons. I guess he's in charge, head of the household, for eating out for the entire family. So he's not using it for his personal purposes. And he says, no, but I might give them like a little bit of like allowance or pocket money. So that's kind of like the middle road kind of approach, it seems. On the other hand, I did see some people, for example, I saw somebody who said that they would be willing to actually, yes, give them their coupons, assuming, so 이연주님 says, if my kids are high school students, I will give them their share. Oh, so it might be also an age thing. Like, what age is appropriate? Like, whatever the amount is, whatever. Let's say, for example, like 15만 원. I mean, to an elementary, like first grader, like, would you give that to them? Is kind of the question. So definitely different responses, different strokes for everybody. And I do respect your opinion. All right, I'll be back in just a moment with Claire. It is now time for News in Depth. We have Claire in the studio. Let's say hi first. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
All right, so same question that I'm going to pose to you. So to your future children, what would you say?
I would not give the full one, 100%. But depending on their age, if they're old enough, maybe I'll give them like a partial.
A little bit at least, right?
Less than half.
So you've thought it through, like, half is too much.
Half is too much.
Yes, I say, you pay taxes, you pay,
as a 국민, maybe you can get some benefit, like the feel of it. Just have
the feel of
it. Feel of like
just a little taste.
Human, like a person in this country, but not the full one yet.
맛보기 좋네요. I like that idea. 맛만 봐라. When you become an adult,
when you grow up, you get the full one, of course, but not yet.
I get it. All right, so let's get into a News in Depth. So what do you have for us today? What is our first story?
So the Ministry of Economy and Finance has finalized the 2025 tax reform plan.
Okay.
And it marks a clear departure from the previous administration's so-called tax cuts for the wealthy. The plan, expected to be officially announced in the coming days following a final review by the Tax Development Deliberation Committee, aims to restore the higher tax rates and thresholds and had been rolled back under former President Yoon Suk-yeol.
Yes, so what's the biggest change?
So the most symbolic change is the increase in the corporate income tax rate. Under the current system, the top corporate tax rate is 24%, which was lowered during the 2022 tax reform under the Yoon's government.
Yes.
The new plan will raise that back to 25%, aligning with the Democratic Party's original proposal and re-establishing the previous tax burden on high-earning corporations.
I see, but this isn't just about corporations, so what about individual asset holders?
Right, another major rollback targets high-value shareholders. The threshold for capital gains taxes on listed stocks will be lowered again from 5 billion won in holdings to 1 billion won. That means more large shareholders will be subject to capital gain tax when selling their shares.
So this is quite a leap. So will the financial transaction tax be affected as well?
Yes, that too. The securities transaction tax, which had been conditionally lowered to 0.15%, is now set to return to 0.18%. This change is designed to recover part of the tax revenue base that was reduced under the previous administration, particularly as the introduction of the financial investment income tax has been delayed.
Yes, and that's a tax on income from things like stocks and bonds and derivatives, correct?
Yes, exactly. The financial investment income tax was initially scheduled to take effect in 2023, but has been repeatedly delayed. In the meantime, the current administration is opting to restore lost revenue through other means, like adjusting the securities tax rate.
But I hear that there's also a cut mixed into this package, something about dividend income.
Yes. That's the part of the government is positioning as a growth support measure. They're introducing what's called separate taxation, 분리과세, on dividend income. Currently, all financial income, including dividends and interest, is taxed as a flat rate, 15.4%, up to 20 million won. If your total financial income exceeds that, it becomes subject to comprehensive taxation at a progressive rate, which can go as high as 49.5%.
Oh, and that's a huge jump, right?
It is. So by allowing dividends to be taxed separately, regardless of total income, the government hopes to encourage more dividend payout by companies, particularly to support its KOSPI 5,000 stock market policy goal. But critics say this move could end up benefiting high-income earners disproportionately, creating a loophole that undermines the broader fairness of the tax package.
So in short, the administration seems to be kind of rebalancing the tax code, raising it back up on corporations and wealthy investors, but I guess making room for stock market incentives?
That is the big picture. The government is emphasizing this as a shift away from short-term tax cuts for the wealthy and toward long-term fiscal sustainability, while also supporting economic growth in sectors like capital markets. But the fairness debate, especially over the dividend tax break, is likely to continue.
And of course, to clarify, the final announcement, it's going to be soon?
Yes, the Ministry of Economy and Finance is expected to make the full announcement following the upcoming Tax Development Deliberation Committee meeting, likely within this week.
I see. Well, thank you for going over this first story. And now we're going to move to a different but very practical issue. So we're talking about fraudulent ambulance use. So the government has issued new guidelines to crack down on this. So we need the backdrop. What's going on?
So this is about protecting the integrity of Korea's emergency medical services, which are increasingly being misused. The Ministry of Health and Welfare, in collaboration with the National Fire Agency, has released a new operational guide to detect and prevent non-emergency or even fake ambulance use. Under the new protocol, paramedics and hospital staff are being instructed to identify cases where individuals are falsely claiming emergency status to receive expedited or subsidized transport.
So we need to know what kinds of abuse are we talking about?
So in some cases, people have requested emergency ambulances simply to avoid paying taxi fares or to bypass waiting lines at hospitals. Others have used ambulances to travel long distances, even when their condition didn't warrant it.
Okay.
These are considered misuse or abuse cases.
Yes.
And they place a huge burden on public services, potentially delaying help for actual critical patients.
That's true. So how will these new guidelines work in reality?
So the key is documentation and verification.
Okay.
Paramedics must now record not only vital signs, but also take note of whether the patient's symptoms and situation actually qualify as an emergency under national standards.
Okay.
Hospitals, too, are required to enter clear diagnosis codes and indicate whether ambulance transport was medically necessary.
So will there be penalties if these rules are not followed?
So fines can apply to individuals who are found to have deliberately abuses the system. But more than that, the government wants to raise awareness. Many people don't realize that this sort of misuse causes real harm by tying up limited emergency resources.
Well, what about the medical community? Any responses?
So the doctors groups have welcomed the move, saying it helps restore fairness and safety in the system.
Okay.
But they're also calling for increased funding and training so that emergency workers aren't placed in awkward judgment roles.
That's true too, because like
in this case, they have to judge everything.
Right. So what if like for the borderline cases, that might be difficult?
That can be debatable.
Yes. All right, Claire, we've been talking about, the intent of the livelihood recovery coupons, and it's part of our text topic as well. But we're also seeing quite a bit of confusion and concern as the program rolls out. We're going into week 2 starting today. What's going on?
That's right. While the livelihood recovery coupons were introduced with the aim of boosting everyday spending and easing financial strain, the early days of the program have revealed a complex reality on the ground.
Okay.
As of July 24th, just 3 days into the first round of applications, over 21.48 million people, which is around 42.5% of the people eligible population, had already signed up.
Okay.
But that rapid uptake has also highlighted serious gaps in public understanding of how, where, and even if they can use the coupons.
So I don't know. I was under the impression like you just kind of swipe a card, but it's not like that?
Not at all. The coupons can only be used at small businesses with annual revenue below 3 billion won.
Okay.
Which includes most neighborhood restaurants, bakeries, and mom and pop stores. But there's a catch. Even within the same franchise, only franchisee-owned outlets qualify. That means directly operated chain 직영점 stores are excluded.
Yes.
That's created confusion for both consumers and merchants.
I'm sure, because if I go to the local bakery, how do I know?
I know.
If it's franchisee owned or not. So can you give us an example?
Sure. One resident in Seoul's Dongdaemungu district tried using the card at the local grocery store, assuming it qualified as a small business, but the payment went through as a regular credit card transaction. No coupon applied. It turned out the store exceeded the revenue threshold, but that wasn't obvious from the outside.
Right, because how would you know?
You can never tell.
There's no sign that says we're over 3 billion, right? And I imagine merchants, the business owners, are facing their own headaches.
Definitely. On social media, there are posts from small business owners saying they've been scolded by customers when the coupon didn't work, but they had no idea why either.
Okay.
The government, the government did publish a list of eligible retailers, but that list isn't always user-friendly or up-to-date, as you may imagine. And the method of payment ranging from card top-ups and local gift card certificates to mobile pay apps add another layer of complexity, plus each store accepts different forms.
So there's also been warnings of scams, like 사기, right?
Yes, in fact, phishing messages started circulating even before the application period began. These fake texts, posing as government or bank alerts, typically say something like, check if you're eligible, click here. But they contain malicious links. The government has repeatedly emphasized, do not click these links. All legitimate applications must go through secure portals or official banking apps.
Right, but I'm sure for people who are not internet savvy or smartphone savvy, it's it might look so real, right?
And because, you want to be eligible.
Right, you want to check, like, am I eligible at how much, right? And that's not the only issue. What about the whole, issue about complaints about how the coupons are being used? I think this is a big issue.
Right. There have been some cases that sparked controversy.
Yes.
For instance, social media posts showed people bulk buying tobacco with the coupons. Technically, that's legal.
Okay.
But critics argue it defeats the purpose of supporting small business and community health.
True.
There's also been misleading posts claiming people could use the coupon to buy luxury electronics like AirPods at certain convenience stores.
Okay.
But most of those claims are outdated or inaccurate based on old inventory or expired deals.
Right. So one part is just confusion, but there's clear misinformation out there too, though, right?
Exactly. That's why officials are calling for clearer communication. The Ministry of the Interior and Safety has even asked online platforms to monitor secondhand coupon sales and resellers. Illegally reselling coupons or using them for card laundering will be strictly punished. In fact, the National Investigation Headquarters of the Korean National Police Agency is conducting a special crackdown on illegal activities tied to coupon use until the end of November. That includes false transactions, person-to-person sales, and the misuse of minors or deceased individuals' benefit.
Right. So while we're on the topic of this, right, what happens if someone passes away after the date of eligibility?
Good question. If the person passed away after June 18th, 2025, the official reference date, they're no longer eligible.
Okay.
Even if the coupon was already issued, the unused amount is supposed to be returned.
Okay.
However, if the deceased was the head of the household and the household incomes includes minors, the remaining balance can be converted to a different coupon format like a paper voucher or prepaid card so that the minor can still benefit.
Yes, yes. Well, definitely something to be on the watch out for, all these scams, and of course to know if you're eligible, but don't click on the links that you're not sure of, right?
Click this.
So, in a nutshell, where does this leave us with all these consumption coupons?
So the intent behind the program is sound and millions are already benefiting.
Yes.
But the mix of misinformation, platform complexity, and inconsistent communication has led to a bumpy rollout. The government is urging patience and has promised to update FNQs, provide clearer signage, and participating businesses, and work with local governments to minimize errors. But users still need to be cautious, check eligibility carefully, ignore suspicious messages, and if in doubt, go through verified government or bank channels.
Yes, yes.
No messages, no text messages.
Great tips. Let's be on the lookout. And of course, for those who might not be so internet savvy, like family members, older ones.
Government will never send you a click this link.
Yes, help them. So help them check it out. All right. Thank you so much for going over all the very interesting news. And of course, we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So today we went over such a wide range of issues. We went over the top news. And of course, the trade negotiations are ongoing. And once again, we'll have a special interview for you, the listeners out there, when we have word that we have a set deal in place, whenever that may be. And of course, the heat wave is ongoing. What does that mean? That means you need to be hydrated, you need to protect your skin, and check in on each other. For our final song today, this is 나에게로 떠나는 여행 by Buzz. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
저 푸른 바다 끝까지 말을 달리면 소금 같은 별이 떠 있고 사막엔 낙타만이 가는 길
변함없이 태양은 부글거리고 오랜 꿈은 삐걱거리고 굴러긴 자동차를 타고서 꿈의 날개로 구름 속을 산책할 거야 날고 나무니까 손에 든 기타 You are melody 어린 왕자 You are melody 찾아 떠나